Okay, for the next talk, our presenter is Etienne Docol, and she's going to talk about web development in Lua, introducing Sailor, an MVC web framework.
Thank you. So I was in the panel earlier, so probably not everyone was there, so I'm going to introduce myself again. This is my Twitter handle in case you want to talk to me later. I am the lead developer of Sailor. I also participated in the last Google Summer of Code, so Sailor, a part of Sailor was a project during it. I'm also trying to organize something called Lua Ladies, which is an initiative to bring more women to programming through Lua. And I'm also the maintainer of Lua Space, which is a Lua community blog. Okay, so the topics I'll cover on the talk are web development in Lua, Sailor itself, and the future. There's something weird about my slides, because I skipped those, but okay, there. Okay, so why Lua? Why is Lua an interesting choice for web development? The thing is, it is easy. It is a language that is ridiculously easy to learn. It is very accessible. It is a high quality piece of technology and has nothing to lose comparing it to other popular languages that are currently being used in this domain, such as PHP, Python, JavaScript, Ruby. And it's also incredibly fast. So here you see a speed comparison of Lua and many other programming languages, and you can see that it performs better than other popular ones. And LuaJIT, which is a special implementation of Lua, is even better than JavaScript, faster than JavaScript VH. So it's really nice. One of the main complaints we have in the Lua community, though, is the lack of tools and the lack of environment to support web development. However, this is no longer true. I have been exploring the web development area of Lua for about 2 years now, and many things have changed. So we do have the tools today. So let's take a look. So you are able to use Lua with different web servers, including Apache. Apache has an extension for it called ModLua that allows you to run Lua scripts over the Apache server. Nginx has a special distribution, OpenResty. So OpenResty is not a specific module, it's like a bundle of modules packed together with Nginx. And it's really interesting. Firstly, because it's a high quality piece of technology, and secondly, because it allows you to do non-blocking I/O without having to write it in an event-driven fashion. So you can write regular procedural code. Nginx will handle all the events internally, and you don't have to deal with things like callback hell, which is pretty nice. Well, on the top of that, there are the two web servers mostly used. So they're pretty popular. There are people that know how to use those servers. So this allows an easier entry to developing over them. There are also other servers that are compatible with Lua. There is Shavanti, which is a pure Lua web server, and some others. We also have frameworks of various kinds. Micro frameworks, MVC, event-driven. I like to call attention to Lapis, which I would say it's the Flask of Lua. So it's a really nice framework. The documentation, it's amazing. It was originally built with MoonScript, which is like, it's a language that compiles to Lua like CoffeeScript compiles to JavaScript. Yeah, it's a really nice framework. We have Orbit that is pretty stable, but it has been a little bit abandoned recently. I'd also like to call attention to Love It. So Love It is a port of Node.js to Lua, specifically. Except that it runs 2 to 4 times faster and saves up to 20 times memory, which is really impressive comparing already what Node.js can do. And it has it is in really intense development. There are people working on it, like for real, find support and everything. The downside to it is that the documentation is pretty bad, but you can ask people around. It's not bad if you already come from Node.js, in fact. And then there's Sailor. So what exactly is Sailor? So like the title said, it is an MVC web framework. It is completely written in Lua. It is compatible with many of the servers I mentioned before, many operational systems, databases. It is MIT licensed, which is, I think, the most permissive you can get. You can fork it and rename it to Potato if you want. And we are currently in the version 0.5. So we are on pre-release, but I'm really working very hard. So the next release is one that we can claim to be ready for production use. In case you were wondering, yes, the name is a reference to Sailor Moon. So what else is cool about it? So Sailor does a lot of things that an MVC framework is supposed to do. So it has routing, sessions, validation, authentication modules, generates forms, generates models. It is integrated with automated tests. But it has something in particular that the other ones don't have, which is the ability to run Lua on the browser. So the thing is, when you're a beginner in web development, you have lots of things to learn, right? People used to say web development is easy. It's a good area for beginners, but it is very complex because you need to learn a lot of stuff. You need to learn HTML, CSS, server-side language, client-side language, database stuff. I mean, if you're going to build something from the bottom up, this is a lot. So one way you can reduce this barrier is use the same language on the server side and on the client side. So if you're a beginner and you don't know JavaScript, you don't have to. And of course, this has some costs. It has performance costs because you're going to run Lua inside a virtual machine that will translate that to JavaScript. So we have a talk later from Paul, which he will talk more about this client-side area of Lua. So yeah, it has a performance cost, but it is also interesting in conciseness, because since you're using the same language, you can share modules. You can write the validation once, and you will use it on the back end and on the front end. And this is very nice for maintainability. So it will depend on what your priorities are. Of course, you don't have to use it. But it is there. What is not so great about Sailor? Well, of course, there are things that are not so great. So, like I said, we're still in pre-release. We are still in early development. And there are many things that are changing fast. So I haven't been trying to do backwards compatibility up until now. I will start doing after it is stable. It does not mean that there will never be a breaking change after I do that, because I try to get the philosophy of Lua. Lua has had breaking changes over the time, but they were extensively discussed within the community, and it was these breaking changes that allowed the language to evolve and get nicer. So yeah, it means I'll be more restrictive when deciding to do breaking changes. It lacks some features, of course. There are many other stuff that we would be glad if we had. And documentation. The documentation, actually, it is already pretty nice, but documentation is something critical. It is just so essential that I will never take this off this list, because documentation needs to be constantly improving, and you're always surprised to see, oh, okay, this could be better explained, and etc. So how do you get Sailor? It is pretty straightforward. You get it from the Lua package manager, so just do Lua Rocks install Sailor, and then you can create your app somewhere, and then you can start the server, and it will spit a pretty app. So Sailor comes integrated with Bootstrap, so it is not that ugly out of the box, but of course you don't need to use it. But yeah, it feels nice. And this is the structure it will have. So you have a place for configuration, controllers, models, public stuff, things created at runtime, tests, teams, and views. So I'm gonna give you an example of what a controller in Sailor looks like. So a controller in Sailor is a Lua module, meaning that it is a table with functions indexed to it, and this table is returned at the end. And its action of the controller is a method of this module. So here in my application, I have this controller called site.lua. What does this mean? It means if I access my application address /site or /site/index, it will run this function. If I access my application address /site/not-index, it will run this other function. And this will, and this will be the output. Here I have the view example. So if you go back here, the last thing we're doing over here is rendering a view. So you're picking our view, and then you're passing some arguments to it. So we're creating a message here and passing it over there, and then we can access it on the view. So views on Sailor are just regular HTML files where you can open Lua brackets. So you can do things, so you can print the message you're sent. Of course, we have a small syntactic sugar for not having to using print all the time. This will be the output. Well, I do have more examples, but I'm not sure if I'll have the time to go through all of them. I'll give just this one more. So like I said before, in Sailor we have the ability to run code on both the server side and to ship it to the browser through a virtual machine. So how this is done exactly? Well, like I said, views are just regular HTML files where you can open Lua brackets. So we have this Lua at server tag, which is the default. So if you use just Lua, it will be the same as above. So this will run on the server side. We have Lua at client, which runs at the client side. This is what will run on the browser. And Lua above, which will make a copy and run both on the server side and on the client side. So if you do this, we are creating a message both on the server side and on the client side. We can print it from the server, and we can do things on the browser like popping up an alert message or creating a div somewhere outside. And this will be the output if we render that view. I'm not gonna have the time to go through the models right now, but well, we have validation, we have relations, and that's pretty much it. and the future. Okay, so like I said before, I am planning to release a stable version as soon as possible. The issue is that we lack hands at work. So for a long time, I've been working on this basically alone. This was actually a project I started for fun. I was learning Lua. I had no idea what I was doing. And I said, I'm gonna do something. And then I kept doing it. And then it turned out to be Sailor. And the feedback from the community was actually what got me working in it and making it grow. Because as soon as I had something completely ridiculous, I posted it on the mailing list, on Reddit, and people started joining in and giving comments and allowing me to grow and learn more things. But basically, I've been working on it alone for this time. Now, recently, I've got one contributor that is going to merge his project with Sailor, and I am very happy with that. That means we have great perspectives for the future, but we still need to implement more stuff. Because my original plan was that Sailor became some sort of jungle or Ruby on Rails for Lua. Obviously, not as bloated, because I think that would go against the philosophy of Lua. The philosophy of Lua is exactly to keep minimum. But at the same time, I think we need to make available more tools to make web development easy. And as Lua is already an easy language, I think this will be just the perfect combination plus the performance. So yeah, we need to make it happen. We need to gather people and start coding and do more things. So one of the things I was thinking was applying Sailor to Rails Girls Summer of Code. It is not as contradictory as it seems, because, well, Rails Girls is obviously a group from the Ruby on Rails community, but this project is actually open to people from all languages, so there is no issue with me applying a Lua project to it. So what happens, this is basically like Google Summer of Code, but run by the Ruby community. And then I would have to mentor new people. They're learning the language, they're learning how to program into developing small features. This could mean new people joining in the community, new people learning more about Lua. The issue that I have right now is that I need to decide what exactly should come in the future to make it really a nice project in the near future. So I've made this survey. If you want to check it out, I would deeply appreciate. So I've made a survey with some questions to the Lua community and other web development community about things they like about Lua, tools they use, things they would like to see. So if you could answer that, I would deeply appreciate. And well, now I'm coming to the end of my talk. So if you want to know more about Sailor, this is the website. It's sailorproject.org. You find everything on GitHub. So github.com/sailorproject. If you want to know, if you want to discuss further, we have a Google group, a mailing list that you can join. You can suggest design ideas. You are more than welcome. And we also have a gear chat for the same purpose, except that is synchronous communication instead of asynchronous communication. If you want to contribute, you can go to GitHub and take a look at our issues. We have plenty of discussions and things that could be worked on. If you want to go to GitHub just to give us a star, you're also welcome. I love stars. And that's it. Thank you.
Since the subjects of the talks are closely related, we decided to just jump straight into the false talk now. So, and in the end, we do like a more extended Q&A with both of them about Lua and web development. So,
to summarize, questions for my talk will be after the next talk.